say thank you very much. First of all, for your interest. Thank you very much for Marisa for the possibility here to present. Wow, it was an interesting session before. Now it's the challenge to have the global scale initiatives going to a technical solution what we provide to customer. So think about your big initiative from regions, go down to a farmer, who want to irrigate his farming land with different crops, with different plants. Of course, without your work, he wouldn't be able to do so. In this small presentation, I will give you an overview what we provide as a company, as a technical solution for a farmer, for association, to optimize the water use, to optimize the irrigation. But before that, I will give you just a short intro to Kistes. May some of you know the Kistes company, may some of you not. Kistes actually started as an engineering company in 1963, focused on civil engineering projects in the hydrology field. Then later on, additional to the engineering office, we saw the need at that time, to get data, to manage data, and that was the starting time to start with the first management software for environmental data. We created so-called Display Information System Kistes. And the later added one was a system called Hydra. It's very popular actually in the region here. If we go to South Africa, Mozambique, and other countries, we saw installation of Hydra, powerful systems to manage the data which coming from the stations, which will be aggregated and analyzed and used as a tool, as a decision-making tool. And in the recent years, the recent 8 years, Kistes added hardware to it, hardware production facilities. So we have production of hardware sensor in Australia, in New Zealand, in Germany. So with this, we provide to our customers complete solution. So we can do it all. We can measure data, we can measure discharge, groundwater, we can measure water level, rain intensity, wind, so all the parameters. We have the data logger platform for it. We do the telemetry. We heard today about satellite communication, about mobile communication. And then, of course, we have these data management platforms like Whiskey and Hydra, which gives you also the possibility to share the data between these databases. And if we look now for the agricultural sector, we have a kind of a cloud solution to make it easy for our customers who has not the ability of an IT specialist just to use the web service and the sensor to get his information to optimize his irrigation. So I come to the solution what we provide to our customer. But first of all, I want to make the link to the presentation in the morning before. So to Garmic, you saw we have a common booth. We cooperate together for solutions, for customer solutions. Of course, without weather information, without rain information, without forecasting, which weather service used for their prediction, for their forecasts, our model wouldn't work. Same with your work, it won't work if the weather and water information is not there. So that's the link to Garmic. So we provide complete solutions together, and we use the weather data or the data from the weather service to provide a practical solution for the customers. And this is one basic practical solution. It's a basic irrigation control system consisting of rain gauge with a data logger, and to the rain gauge and data logger is a soil moisture pressure, a soil moisture sensor connected. And the data will be transferred from the field here. You see an installation, you see installation of the soil moisture sensor. We have different kind of soil moisture change sensors. We have different kind of crops. We have wine, we have potatoes. So we have different depth of the root. And with this information, the customer receives an update information about his situation at his farming field. So here example with onion field. What we see with this colored coded lines, you see different level of soil moisture in the ground. There you can see sometimes it goes up. There you have a rain event. Sometimes it's you have a harsh slope up there. That's an irrigated situation. So whenever the soil moisture go below a certain threshold, shown here is a red, the farmer sees, okay, he needs to do something. On the other side, he gets a prediction from his weather model, from his weather service provider. And if he sees, okay, there is rain coming, then he do not need to irrigate. If there's rain coming, he sees how long it will last in the soil, in the ground. And so he can optimize his way, how he starts the pump, how he opens the drop irrigation to get the best outcome of his field. It's a simple, fast install solution. It's installed just for the time when the plants grow, when they harvest, to take it out, and so they wait for the next season. So customers, they use just different dashboards to get the right information: soil moisture, rain intensity, rain forecast. So that was the basic one, what we delivered since several years. Now we enhanced or advanced the whole system with a crop-specific irrigation. So every crop, every plant has a different demand. Every soil is different, every landscape topography is different. And with these inputs, we can optimize even better the decision support for our customers. We added here an example, a weather station in a potato field. We added an ETA sensor. The ETA sensor directly measures the evaporation from the ground, from the plant. Depending, if you have a big canopy at the plant, you have maybe less evaporation. If you have sand soil, you have a faster irrigation. So with this one, you see the direct evaporation from the field. Here you see the data, which is the output of the sensor. You see the day and night changes. So in the noon, in the midday, we have the highest evaporation, and then in the night, less information. So we have an additional sensor to give more information to our model behind there for the decision support. Before we had this sensor, we used so-called ETO station. They measure the microclimate, and with this information, you actually calculate the evaporation at site. And if you compare now in this graph the evaporation calculated and evaporation measured, there you can see, this is an example for potato, that you underestimate the evaporation. So you would underestimate your irrigation need. And so with this sensor, we are even more precise to give a recommendation to the customer. In the platform itself, what the customer needs to do before he build up his field, he install a weather station, and then he can decide what the system needs to do for him. He defined the soil type, he defined the crop type, he input the weather service information, and with all the information, our model, with the information from the weather station, gives them, including with the forecast information, at the right day, the right information when he needs to irrigate and when he needs not to irrigate. And here you see some comparison between a decision supported from the system compared from an ETO and an ETA station. Down there in the graph, you see the blue line, that's a rain event. The red line is the ETO recommendation, and the green line is the actual measured recommendation using an ETA sensor. And there you would see, if you use just the ETO, maybe at the end you will see the graphs, you would overestimate the irrigation, the evaporation, and you would less irrigate. So with this system, with one spot, the customer can decide, he can open every day he needs to irrigate this amount of water, and he can optimize his use of water and irrigation. He can optimize in terms of usage of water and optimize the amount of water that the plant actually needs. The model behind there are with a university who is specialized in crop-specific irrigation. We use their input, we use meteorologists, scientists to build up a model behind that helps customers to optimize the irrigation. Here, just at the end, some impressions, early season, smaller canopies. When it comes in the highest growing season, and then of course we have the end of the season, we get to harvest. We just take out the weather station. We charge battery for the next use, and then we are ready for the next season. Thank you. That was my presentation down to the field from the big initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helmut. And please do go see Helmut at his stand. Okay, our next presenter is Ben Cusick from EWR.
Yeah, will be.
Well, kind of like the screen feels like me this afternoon, perhaps a little bit slow, a little bit tired, kind of almost the end of the second day, kind of getting ready for my cup of coffee, probably my beer a little bit later on as well. Maybe just get everybody warmed up a little bit. Everybody just stand up a little bit and move around a little bit. I don't know about you, but sat there, fantastic presentations, but my feet kind of need moving around a little bit, my new shoes. So trying to move ourselves around a little bit. Yeah? How does that feel?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I might actually get my 10 minutes then.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so thank you very much, everybody, for hanging around and bearing with us. I think we're going to be doing another couple of presentations.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 more presentations. So bear with us. We're almost there, and then we're over to some of the next really interesting conversations just back over into the other room. Okay, so I guess there's probably already been a couple of conversations today about weather radar. So I think everybody's kind of aware of EWR and what we do. But so we've kind of been trying to do a little bit of research recently. So some of the challenges that you guys actually out in the field have with some of your radar network. So what we're hearing from you is that some of the limited kind of infrastructure that you've got, that might be your network, that might be due to some of aging equipment. Obviously that happens. But it could be down to maintenance, it could be down to funding, it could be down to any of those kind of issues that you guys are feeling. So what's happening? Obviously, we understand that we're in a particularly budget and perhaps price sensitive market, so that not everybody has maybe the brand new equipment or that there's a capability to be able to have that updated maybe every 10 or 15 minutes. So what can we do to help? So as you know, EWR kind of pioneered solid state technology around 15, 18 years ago. And we've been specializing more and more now in the portable radar solutions. What does that really mean? I mean, I think most people are kind of used to radar being static, big 3-4 meter dish level. Well, actually what we talk about is a little bit more semi-permanent. So we kind of worked with a lot of the DoD guys and actually brought out a lot of the portable radar stations. So something like you could see at the top of a mast, and perhaps maybe putting it out temporarily for maybe whatever kind of applications, research, for portable runway-based systems, just to kind of get that out into the field. Well, not everywhere in the world do you need to put it out temporarily, but also sometimes you want to leave it in a little bit more of a secure environment. So what we've been working on is looking at a little bit more semi-permanent based situations. So that might be including cabin, it might be including something where you need to have a more security perspective, or that you need to have that field deployable. So we've actually been looking at a couple of our other projects that we've won globally. So this is a solution that we put out to Southeast Asia. And that was actually across multiple different platforms. So it actually kind of became a much more of a turnkey solution that we worked with a number of other providers to be able to try and fulfill a complete solution. Now, not everybody wants to have that semi-permanent solution. Not everybody has the capability to deploy a 20 or 40-foot container. We understand that. So actually we worked with the Korean Met Department to actually have a trailer-based platform. So that means it's much more field deployable for research projects, disaster recovery-based platforms, even most importantly, some of the gap filling. Now that might be gaps in your network. It might be gaps because you have an issue with one of your existing radar platforms. It happens. So what we've been looking at there is both not just X-band, which is what we've been known for, but also some of our C-band based platforms as well. So really just to try and help out to support that market. And this is probably where everybody knows EWR from our field deployable based platform at the top of the mast. So really we're trying to cover that full perspective of multiple different markets where we can come and actually help you, and those become much more of a custom-based platform. So what are we kind of sitting here taking advantage of? So again, that rapid deployment. So is it a disaster recovery platform? Is it something where you have an urgent gap fill? Ease of use. So you've seen we are a weather radar manufacturer. That's what we do. Our product, designed and developed around the entry-level user, means that you don't need to have that high-level capability. For sure, there's a room full of metrologists here with decades worth of experience. Not every country in the globe has access to that capability, especially if you're in a very, very remote part of the world. We're able to have that access and capability much more readily available. We, of course, have the cost-effective solutions, of course, because it's a smaller based platform. Plus, also, that's what solid state enables you to have. So not only from the entry level, but also from that overall cost of maintenance and management. And then that's obviously feeding into your existing countrywide networks. So we're able to upload that and feed it into your existing platform. So we're not asking for a massive change. What we're doing is we're trying to help you with those customized platforms that we're able to do.
I think the cable's a bit dodgy. Mm. Give it a
Not a
wiggle.
lot. Again,
Give it a wiggle. Oh.
it knows it's me. Yeah, so it's just me. Static personality. Okay, so a little bit of a quick slide. Everybody knows that we've been around in the market for a long time, specializing within solid state technology. We've been a #1 supplier for the US DoD, so our product has been tried and tested. I can tell you, the US Marine Corps and the US Air Force are not the most gentlest people with equipment. So our product is filled and tried and tested in some of the most harsh environments in the world. We've obviously been working with the WMO for many, many years. We've been sitting here talking to you guys about solid state technology for a long time. So we have over 100 weather radar, solid state, out in the field, tried, tested, working. We can share that experience with you guys. Some of our lovely big logos that we have for some of our customers. And just a very quick vision of what our platforms are. So we started obviously here with some of the entry level. We're moving through obviously X and C band platforms, but actually what we're focusing on is these kind of custom-led platforms based on what are your requirements. What does that mean to you? Of course, you know, like many people here, we could put radar at the top of a 30-meter tower, static, base, sure, we can do that. But actually where our sweet spot is from that solid state base to be actually able to give you a mobile-based platform. What does that look like to you? That's what we're interested to talk about. That's what we're interested to talk to understand what are your needs? What are the challenges that you guys have in your network that we can kind of help you with? Some of our easy software-based platform. Anybody who's seen some of our YouTube videos, we're actually running through our Weather Scout-based platform. So this is the very intuitive, easy to run platform for your technicians, or even just some of your users that can fully integrate within some of the larger based platforms for some of the options that you wanted to see. The news that we actually have now is we've got an upcoming platform, so Weather Scout Watch. Actually, what does that mean? So this is a multi-based platform that's going to be able to overlap various products so that you can see them in field in real time. So that's kind of our little bit of a nice big product launch that we have coming soon. We're going to have some demos running on our booth tomorrow. We're going to have a dial in from the US. So during the breakout session, if you're around and if we're on time, please come over, have a look at it. We'd love for you to see it. There will be a real live demo in Vienna at MetTech later on this year. So we'd love to invite you to come down and see it, play around with it, have a look at what it could actually do for you. So that's a little bit of my presentation, so I can finish up. But thank you very much for indulging me in the beginning, getting everybody up. I must admit, I like it to be a little bit more lively. So thank you very much. Please come over and see me. I'm happy to have it.
Excellent, thank you, Ben. We're actually just going to grab our next speaker, Graham. So if we have any questions for this speaker or our previous speaker, now's the time. Or you can see them later at their booths. Okay, we'll just wait until we have Graham in the room. Oh, Dr. Kijaslia.
Thank you. I have a question on this data, the irrigation solution.
Helmet. Previous guy to be.
Yeah.
Helmet. It's just not here. I think that's just not. Oh, is that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm here. Good idea again. Did you say irritate? I thought I didn't know.
I wanted to know where the solution is tested, because for crops, it depends on the place in terms of temperature, soil. So I want to know where it tested, can it be applied in Africa?
Yes, yes. So we tested in several countries, in different, how do you say, zones, weather zones. So one test time was in the biggest farm in the UK. One test farm is in Australia, one test farm in Germany. The different climate zones we tested with commodity.
participating in Africa.
The EGO, yes, but not the ETA. So the whole model for the EGO was, installation in Africa, which the center partner for the EGO. This is a new, but the climate zone is similar in. So I hope soon we will open up the market in that.
Thank you very much. So our next speaker is Graham from. Mhm.
Right, thanks for hanging in there, guys. Let's get late in the day, so I'm gonna try and zip through this. I've rather perhaps overstated the flow forecasting graph, but what I want to do in the next 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, is really highlight my company and then one of the keyword my team do for the National Weather Service for the Office of Water Prediction, which is developing the next generation water model for the country, for the United States. So just a little bit of background there. We've grown from 7 in about 10 years ago to about 500. So that's come with some challenges. You know, we lost our small business status, but it's also enabled us to do some very big jobs for the federal government, particularly for NOAA National Weather Service, which is my primary client. But fundamentally, we're a service company. I've got a consulting group, so I've got about 50 people in Boulder, Colorado, doing a lot of state and local work as well as federal contracting with some of the projects that I'll describe to you today. But we take some of the technologies that we developed for NOAA and NASA and some of the other federal agencies, and then deploy that technology or some of the information we get out of it, and sometimes just the data products, to be able to consult to small and large communities. So that's a swap of some of our key partners, NASA and NOAA, the key ones there. NOAA is really our prime client, and that's primarily the National Weather Service. Very proud that we've grown the way that we have, and it's really just to support the jobs that we want to do. And we've received quite a few accolades in the last several years because of the way that we've grown. We're now an employee-owned company. So 2 key projects. These are 2 out of about probably 40 or 50, including some of the task orders that we have open at any one time that we're currently employed with. But these are 2 of the largest and most complicated projects. The first one is with the National Centers for Environmental Prediction. So this is supporting all the centers that provide basically the modeling and the data forcings that run most of the NOAA physical models, including the ones that I'm going to describe in the second project, which is the Office of Water Prediction. So a key one here that is particularly interesting to me is we're doing a lot of transitional work with data assimilation approaches. And then we're also supporting new ideas and strategies to be able to leverage emerging ideas and technologies around machine learning and AI. So I'll talk to that a little bit before the end of the talk in context of this project. This is actually my baby and my team, the 50 people that I mentioned earlier in Boulder and various other locations in the country support the paradigmatic change that the Weather Service has been undergoing for the last decade. And this has been moving away from integration of 2 key lumped models, SAC-SMA and SNO-17, which have been delivering flood forecasts for the country very well, I would say, for the last 30, 40 years up until that point. To a more distributed, physically based modeling approach, which is continuous across the whole country. It's actually the first ever fully coupled continental scale operational flood forecast model. And the whole focus of this is improving flood warning, but not just flood warning. It's really a water model that can support a number of different interagency activities, including looking at water quality, low flows for drying the water supply, and various other applications as well. And it provides near real-time and high resolution visualization, so that we're actually developing actionable intelligence so communities can respond to those forecasts and predictions. So this is just to give you a sort of a quick understanding of the transition. So this is what life looked like for about 10 years ago, where we were basically relying on all of the forecast points that are in green now. It actually looks a bit bigger coverage than it really is, because obviously we blow the dots up so you can see the full coverage on the map. But by developing a national model market, we've been able to extend the number of forecast points to several million points beyond the number of points that we were able to do just over a decade ago, and take the forecasts into basins that previously had no forecasts. So that's really critical in that a number of areas in the states have not been covered at all, including communities that were already fairly large and those that have emerged in the last 20 years with some of the burgeoning growth that we've got. So what was the problem with the approach once we brought it into the physical and base domain, the fully contiguous CONUS domain? Well, the use of Wharf Hydro as a hydrologic model, where we use NORMP as the land surface model, we quickly started to realize in the early phases of the project that it wasn't going to be suitable for the entire country to be served by two models. And this is highlighted by this graph, where you can see the NORMP running through Wharf Hydro runs pretty well on the East Coast in terms of mass uplift efficiencies. Testing reasonably well on the West Coast, but pretty darn poorly in the central part of the United States. So most of the land of the United States, not so great. So there's nothing unusual about this. It was a great way to start the project, and this paradigm change that I mentioned, but it became clear that, as with anywhere in the world, there's no one best model. All of you probably use your own models and you hang on to them dearly because they've been developed to fit the physical and hydrologic conditions and the physiography of the region that they were designed for. They might be specific to snowmelt and snowpack driven forcings, or they might be more humid or arid type climates. So we developed models to fit the hydrologic conditions of the landscape that we're trying to model. Trying to make one model do all of that doesn't actually make sense after a while. So the next phase of the project, after about 5 years, was to start transitioning to what we call next generation system, which will be a flexible agnostic approach, which would enable us to bring in the models of choice for the right application. So explain how all that works would be a 20-minute talk in its own right. So I'm going to boil it down to some very simple concepts here, and then I'll be happy to chat and give you overviews of what some of the details look like. But the key things to take home from this is the modularity at the top is represented by the fact that you can use several models that will be integrated and have been integrated into the current operational model, but also enables you to bring your model along. Number of advantages with this. One I just explained, you can bring in the model that best fits the physiography and the hydroclimatic conditions that you're trying to model and want to be represented in the forecast. The second thing is that engenders a lot of trust and anticipation that you wouldn't have if you just tell people that's your model, whether the people at the river forecast center, NOAA employees, or whether it's their stakeholders, the decision support folks on the ground. So that's the key part. The forcing data and the geospatial data largely are interoperable, so they can be used with any of the models. All of the parameters that are needed to drive the physically based distributed models are contained within the geospatial data, and they too are interoperable. So they don't need to change, they just continue to grow as different sources of parameters are integrated into the system. Again, very collaborative. The user interface stays the same, and that can be tailored so that all the inputs are consistent, so that really helps with decision support. And when you're looking at interagencies or trying to train folks up consistent behavior and response, that really creates some efficiencies. But it isn't hard work, so you can adapt some of the outputs of the data to suit specific needs. So just to run over some of the summary for that, the precipitation rate is modular and it depends on open source data. It's truly heterogeneous. It's scalable, meaning that we can actually downscale and take it to a lower resolution for example, street level flood mapping, which I'll describe in just a moment. And then, sorry, I just want to make one last note there. Ooh, no, too far. is that the community engagement is really encouraged by this approach. So having folks able to access all of this code, which is available in GitHub for the most part, access it, plant their model in and experiment with it, encourages a lot more input and a lot more trust of the whole modeling process. Plus, it gives a lot more trust to the communities that are going to depend on the decision support outputs from these models. So I'm going to emphasize just one key phase, got about 3 minutes left, just to show how this is now facilitating much better response on the ground and much better actually response to capabilities. So previously our real-time flood forecast inundation mapping was produced and output through something called AMAPS, the Advanced Hydraulic Prediction System. This, as you can see from the map in the middle, was very constrained in terms of the real-time flood mapping that was available to the communities that might need this. Most of the US has not had access to the level of mapping you see on the right, even further than that. With all of these new forecast points, which are represented by the coverage of the blue lines, that's the high fabric supporting the natural water body, we're now able to develop inundation maps that cover all of that blue area. So you can see there's relatively little yellow space there in terms of areas that don't get coverage, and quite often that's areas that just simply don't have much hydrologic activity in them. So we can now generate maps that look like this. This is the sort of map that we used to getting from local scale projects. We're now able to develop them for the entire canvas at any point in time during any event. A lot of this is facilitated by the hydro condition and terrain modeling work. What Jerome was referring to earlier on, that Esri is provided. And in fact, part of my career started with doing some of the early flow reading with Esri. We're two of the key developers in that group. What we use here is something called the height above nearest drainage, the HAND model, and this enables us to very simply reduce where water is likely to flow. So it's simply hydro conditioning based on gravity, where is the next lowest cell that the river is likely to follow. This is obviously critical because there's no point in having tools like this if you're predicting flood maps that deviate from where water will logically flow. And as you can imagine, this gets found in especially when you get into urban domains where storm water starts to play into it. That's where you have to end up to be. So we migrated all of this flood inundation mapping to the cloud. The main point behind this, that's enabling a number of other activities to be conducted, including things like benchmarking, using rating curves from the HEC-RAS models to be assimilated into the technology. And again, this coming back to the community involvement, our ability to engage with the Corps of Engineers in the US is largely because of this model architecture that we set up to facilitate this sort of communication. It's also enabled us to bring in a number of different HEC-RAS models, again, because of the communications that we have with the Corps of Engineers, and utilize all the cross sections that they developed over the years for a lot of their local models with Army Corps districts. So we're looking to get thin services out that give impact-based decision support for all these areas by about 2026. The entire country is going to be covered. So this is quite amazing when you think how much work just goes into just the one model for a local municipality to develop those sort of street level inundation maps. By 26, we're going to be delivering this to every river channel in the US for every community. Operational film services are available for these locations right now, and you can go to that viewer on the weather model graph site down below to zoom into areas that you may be familiar with if you travel to the US. And then this is just a visualization of how we utilize stage discharge relationships in combination with the inundation mapping that we produce with the HAND to be able to get some sort of sense for reality checks and to see the progression of an event as the stage comes up during the big flood. The key requirement for better response on the ground is developing a common operating procedure for all the emergency management response agencies. That was something that a few of us had a good talk about early afternoon this afternoon, was how to engage those in a consistent way so that you build a bigger stakeholder base and get more people trusting in the line, but engaging in a consistent way. That then enables us to work from the ground up and work backwards from the risk side of the equation and get more understanding of what the risk is on the ground. I haven't had time to talk to it, but we have also integrated in, I'm going to wrap up now, I'm getting shaky. We've integrated a coastal hazard modeling component where we're looking at forcings coming in from tropical storms. So you can imagine when you've got onshore precipitation during one of those events, a lot of water trying to get offshore as the rainfall happens inland at the same time as you've got surge events and sometimes, you know, fairly significant wave swells. So that stops the water getting off. If you don't try and model both of those simultaneously, which it's never been done at the continental scale, and frankly around the world hasn't been done very much at local scales, then obviously you're going to start to get quite inaccurate forecasts as well as inundation maps for the actual hazard pilot. So just to wrap up, I want to highlight the collaboration opportunities. And again, you know, a few of us chatted a little bit about this at lunchtime, and I'd be very open to talking about it with any of you here, is how can we extend this modeling framework to other areas of the world? And specifically in this case in Africa. My interest is that I've worked in Africa a lot on flood projects. I did a flood risk and hazard project for the East Nile Technical Regional Office. The Nile Basin Initiative talk that we had this morning was right in that terrain with looking at the Nile from both the hazard and the risk standpoint. So I would be very interested to see if we could explore how we can leverage taking the architecture that we built for the US and building it out in the region of Africa so that we could test how, not the models, but the infrastructure to facilitate all the good things that I've described today. Better representation models, better community engagement, better trust, and better outputs ultimately. And that's all I've got.